Saffron looks simple at first. A few red threads. A premium spice. A small jar on a retail shelf. But behind that small jar is one of the most concentrated, labor-intensive, and strategically unusual agricultural value chains in global trade. This is not just a story about an expensive spice. It is a story about geography, grading, branding, re-export hubs, sanctions, quality certification, and the gap between where saffron is grown and where the final value is captured. This video is based on the Merit Gateway Saffron Report, including the executive summary and the full value chain report. In this Merit Gateway breakdown, we are looking at saffron under HS code 091020. This code covers genuine saffron obtained from the dried stigmas of the Crocus sativus flower. It includes whole saffron threads, crushed or ground saffron, and saffron traded in retail or bulk packaging. But it does not include saffron substitutes, artificial colorants, or chemically processed extracts under other codes. That matters because the market we are looking at is not a broad flavoring category. It is specifically the trade in genuine saffron. And genuine saffron behaves differently from most agricultural products. It is high value. It is low volume. It is difficult to produce. It is easy to misrepresent. And its final price depends heavily on grade, origin, packaging, certification, and the route it takes through the global market. The first thing to understand is the product itself. Saffron is the dried stigma of Crocus sativus. Each flower produces only 3 stigmas. Those stigmas must be harvested by hand, separated, dried, graded, and protected from moisture and adulteration. This is why saffron is expensive before it ever enters international trade. The cost is not just land. It is labor. It is timing. It is climate. It is careful drying. And it is the extremely small yield per flower. The compounds that give saffron its commercial value are also important. Crocin gives saffron its color. Picrocrocin contributes to flavor. Saffronal contributes to aroma. These are not just scientific details. They are buying criteria. For food buyers, color and aroma may drive the purchase decision. For nutraceutical and pharmaceutical users, standardization and traceability matter more. For cosmetics and perfumery, the focus may shift toward bioactive compounds, natural positioning, and product storytelling. So one HS code hides several different buyer logics. The report classifies saffron quality through ISO 3632 grading. Category I represents premium saffron, often associated with names like Super Negin, Coupe, or the highest quality trimmed red stigma portions. Category 2 includes standard commercial grades such as Negin or Mancha. Category 3 includes lower grades such as Puschel or Bunch, often with more yellow style content and lower color intensity. In practical trade terms, the buyer is not only asking, "Is this saffron?" The buyer is asking, "What grade is it? What is the crocin strength? How was it dried? Is it whole thread or powder? Is the origin traceable? Can the supplier prove purity? And will the product match the end use?" That is the first major lesson of this market. Saffron is not one product. It is a quality ladder. Whole threads are preferred for culinary and retail use because they preserve visual identity and help buyers judge authenticity. Powdered saffron is more practical for food processing, beverages, pharmaceuticals, and cosmetics, but it also creates more room for quality risk, because once saffron is ground, visual inspection becomes harder. That is why documentation, testing, and origin control become so important. Now look at demand. Food and beverage remains the largest consumption area. Saffron is used in premium confectionery, bakery products, dairy, rice dishes, meat dishes, herbal teas, and alcoholic beverages. In these uses, the buyer wants color, aroma, and culinary identity. In some markets, saffron is not just an ingredient. It is part of food culture. Iranian cuisine, Indian sweets, Spanish paella, Gulf hospitality, Persian desserts, premium teas, and luxury gifting all create demand that is cultural as much as industrial. That cultural demand makes saffron different from many commodities. Can be both an input and a symbol. In pharmaceutical and nutraceutical applications, the logic changes. Buyers are less interested in long, beautiful threads and more interested in standardized bioactive content, traceability, and laboratory documentation. In cosmetics and perfumery, saffron is used as a natural antioxidant, aromatic compound, and luxury ingredient. Here, the product sits at the intersection of natural beauty, premium branding, and botanical positioning. In natural dyes and chemical uses, lower grades and processing rejects may still have value if the buyer is primarily looking for pigment concentration and cost efficiency. So the demand question is not only, who buys saffron? The better question is, which industry is buying? Which form does it need? Which grade does it accept? And how much proof does that buyer require? Now we move to geography. Commercial saffron comes from one species, Crocus sativus, but the market is geographically segmented because climate, soil, harvest tradition, drying methods, and post-harvest handling create different commercial identities. Iran is the center of global saffron production. The report describes Iran as accounting for more than 85% of global saffron production, with cultivation concentrated strongly in the Khorasan region. Iran leads in volume, standardization, and the bulk supply base of the global market. Iranian grades such as Super Negin, Sargal, and Pushal are familiar in international trade. Iranian saffron often sets the reference point for color strength and large-scale availability. But Iran's position is complicated. Iran is the production powerhouse, but not always the place where the final consumer-facing value is captured. That brings us to Spain. Spain has a much smaller production base, centered in Castilla-La Mancha, but it plays an outsized role in branding, packaging, certification, and re-export. Spanish saffron benefits from strong consumer trust, European food safety systems, and protected designation of origin positioning for La Mancha saffron. The report shows that Spain operates not only as a producer, but as a processing, packaging, and re-export hub. This is one of the key market dynamics. Iran grows the majority of the saffron. Spain captures a large share of branded retail value. The United Arab Emirates plays another role. The UAE is less about cultivation and more about trade connectivity. It acts as a redistribution hub linking Iranian and South Asian supply with Gulf, Asian, and European markets. China and India also appear in the market, but with different roles. India has a traditional production base in Jammu and Kashmir, with saffron known for aromatic intensity and local cultural value. China appears in trade data in a way that reflects both import demand and evolving high-value smaller shipments. Greece and Morocco represent smaller but important origin stories. Greece has Crocus Kozani's PDO saffron. Morocco has Talouine saffron, associated with high-altitude production and authenticity positioning. This means saffron is not only a country ranking. It is a map of roles. Some countries produce, some countries process, some package, some re-export, some consume, and some do several of these at the same time. Now look at the trade pattern. The report shows that global saffron exports under HS 0911020 have fluctuated strongly between 2000 and 2024. Export values rose over time, reached strong levels around the early 2010s, entered a prolonged growth phase after 2012, and then showed a correction after 2020. The report links this pattern to price cycles, production adjustments, and the role of leading exporters. Quantities also fluctuate. The report notes a sharp increase in export quantities between 2019 and 2021, followed by a decline after 2021. This is important because saffron volume can move sharply even when the underlying product is high value and relatively small in physical trade. The reason is that saffron trade is sensitive. Sensitive to harvest conditions. Sensitive to Iranian supply. Sensitive to re-export activity. Sensitive to price cycles. Sensitive to sanctions and trade routes. Sensitive to whether the shipment is bulk raw saffron, retail pack saffron, or value-added product moving through an intermediary. For exporters, this means the market can look attractive in value terms, but it is not simple. For importers, it means a country's reported trade value may not tell the full story of origin. Now let us look at exporters. Over the 20-year view, Iran dominates the global saffron export landscape by both value and volume. In the most recent 5-year period covered by the report, Iran remained by far the leading exporter, with export values exceeding $800 million during 2019 to 2024. Spain followed as the second-largest exporter, with values near $300 million. But Spain's exports are not only about Spanish-grown saffron. The report emphasizes that Spain's saffron exports are heavily linked to re-exported and reprocessed Iranian saffron, repackaged for premium distribution across Europe and international retail markets. That is the value chain lesson. The country that grows the product is not always the country that captures the premium. Other exporters, including the UAE, India, China, and some secondary trade participants, appear in the rankings, but the structure remains concentrated. Iran supplies the base. Spain refines, packages, certifies, and distributes. The UAE connects routes and markets. Now look at importers. Over the longer period, Spain is also the largest importer. That might seem strange if you only think of saffron as a consumer product. But it makes sense if you understand Spain as a re-exporting and packaging hub. Spain imports bulk saffron, primarily linked to Iranian supply, then repackages and rebrands it for European and global markets. In the most recent 5-year period, the report shows Spain continuing to dominate global saffron imports. The United States ranks as the second-largest importer by value, with values above $100 million. The UAE also appears as an important importer, reinforcing its role as a redistribution hub. France, the United Kingdom, Portugal, Belgium, the Netherlands, Malaysia, and Ireland also appear in the import structure, reflecting a mixture of consumption, processing, and distribution roles. The important point is that import data must be interpreted carefully. A country may be importing because it consumes saffron. It may be importing because it packages saffron. It may be importing because it re-exports saffron. It may be importing because it supplies food processors, cosmetic brands, or nutraceutical producers. This is why saffron rankings require interpretation. If you want to go deeper than this video, Merit Gateway has the saffron report available on the website. You can review the executive summary for the quick strategic picture, or use the full value chain report if you need the deeper view on product grades, producing countries, trade flows, price signals, sourcing risks, and market entry strategy. The link is in the video description. Now let us talk about price. Saffron is famous for being expensive, but price per unit in trade data is not the same thing as a retail price. The report highlights several drivers of saffron pricing. First, re-export pricing and value addition. Spain and the UAE import saffron, often from Iran, and then process, package, certify, or redistribute it. That value addition raises the export price from those hubs and separates farm gate or bulk value from the final market price. Second, sanctions and trade restrictions on Iran. Because Iran accounts for most global production but faces banking and trade restrictions, a significant share of Iranian saffron reaches final markets indirectly through intermediaries. This raises transaction costs, reduces transparency, and creates gaps between official data and mirror data. Third, local market consumption. Iran and India both have strong domestic saffron use. Saffron is used in food, medicine, cosmetics, and cultural consumption. When local demand is strong, export availability can tighten. Fourth, final market differentiation. European, North American, and Gulf markets often reward traceability, packaging, purity, and branding. A Spanish or European retail label can command a higher price than the raw product at origin, even when the underlying saffron may have originated elsewhere. Fifth, macroeconomic and logistics factors. Exchange rates, inflation, transport costs, and the use of air freight for high-value small-batch exports all affect unit value. So when we see saffron PPU moving, the question is not simply, did saffron become more expensive? The question is, which grade moved? Which country reported the trade? Was it bulk or packaged? Was it direct origin trade or re-export? Was the shipment small and high value? Was the price shaped by sanctions, currency, or certification? This is why price per unit is a question generator, not a final answer. Now let us follow the product from flower to final consumer. The value chain begins with corms, the bulbs used to propagate Crocus sativus. Since the plant is sterile, saffron is not grown from ordinary seed. The quality and health of planting material are critical. Then comes cultivation. Saffron requires specific conditions: dry summers, cold winters, well-drained soils, and careful management of moisture. It can survive in semi-arid regions, but it is exposed to drought risk, groundwater pressure, and changing climate conditions. Iran's saffron production is built heavily on smallholder farming, especially in Khorasan. This creates scale but also fragmentation. Many farmers operate with traditional methods, limited mechanization, and uneven access to technical advisory services. The flower harvest is highly time-sensitive. When the flowers bloom, the stigmas must be collected quickly and carefully. Each flower gives only 3 stigmas. This is the labor bottleneck at the heart of the product. After harvesting comes separation, drying, sorting, grading, and packaging. Drying is especially important because it affects aroma, color, shelf life, and quality classification. Then the product enters trade. Some saffron moves as bulk raw material. Some moves in retail packaging. Some is processed into powder. Some becomes an ingredient for food manufacturing. Some enters cosmetics, nutraceuticals, and specialized botanical markets. By the time saffron reaches the final consumer, the identity of the product may have changed. It may be Iranian-grown saffron sold under a Spanish label. It may be packaged in Europe. It may pass through the UAE. It may be sold as a gourmet spice, a wellness ingredient, or a luxury cosmetic component. The physical product is tiny, but the value chain is long. Now consider sourcing risk. For exporters, the first challenge is production reliability. Saffron depends on climate, water, labor, and quality post-harvest handling. Drought and groundwater stress create risks in important producing regions. Traditional cultivation methods can limit productivity improvement. The second challenge is quality consistency. Buyers may require ISO 3632 testing, purity documentation, traceability, and proof that the product is genuine saffron. Without that documentation, exporters may be forced into lower-value bulk channels. The third challenge is value capture. Iran dominates production, but Spain and European brands capture significant downstream value through packaging, certification, and consumer trust. For an origin exporter, the question is not only how to sell saffron. The question is how to move up the chain from bulk supply toward branded, certified, packaged, or semi-processed product. For importers, the risks are different. The first risk is authenticity. Saffron is high value and visually delicate, so adulteration and substitution risk are real concerns. Importers need supplier verification, testing, and reliable documentation. The second risk is origin confusion. A product may be traded through Spain or the UAE but originally grown elsewhere. That may be acceptable, but buyers must know what they are buying and what origin claim they can legally make. The third risk is grade mismatch. A food service buyer may need appearance and aroma. A nutraceutical buyer may need chemical standardization. A cosmetics buyer may need traceability and natural positioning documentation. The same product offer will not satisfy all of them. The fourth risk is compliance. European and North American buyers may require food safety documentation, packaging compliance, labeling accuracy, residue testing, and traceability systems. This is where market entry strategy becomes important. The report's EU strategy separates the market into 3 segments. The first is packaged saffron. This is the main retail entry point, but it is competitive and brand-driven. Spain already plays the central role in importing, packaging, and re-exporting saffron across Europe and beyond. For new entrants, bulk supply alone is not enough. The better strategy is co-branding, e-commerce retail integration, European packaging partnerships, and EU-compliant labeling. The second segment is saffron for the food industry. This includes food manufacturing, hospitality, sauces, high-end food products, natural coloring, and clean label ingredients. Here, buyers want reliability, food safety, and repeatable specifications. Partnerships with EU food ingredient suppliers and organic certification can matter more than simply offering the lowest price. The third segment is cosmetics and medicine. This is smaller but potentially high value. For this segment, direct consumer retail may not be the best route. The report suggests that the better entry point is supplying concentrated extracts or semi-processed saffron derivatives to European laboratories, cosmetic startups, and established health and beauty brands. This strategy shifts the focus from selling saffron as a spice to selling saffron as a functional ingredient. That is a very different business. So what does all this mean for a buyer? If you are sourcing saffron, start with the end use. Do you need whole thread or powder? Do you need category 1, 2, or 3? Do you need retail packaging or industrial bulk? Do you need ISO 3632 testing? Do you need organic certification? Do you need PDO, geographical indication, or origin claims? Do you need food, cosmetic, or nutraceutical compliance? Then look at the supplier's role. Are they a grower, a collector, processor, packager, a re-exporter, a brand owner, a trader? Each role has different strengths and different risks. If you are an exporter, the lesson is just as clear. Production strength is not enough. The premium is captured through proof, packaging, traceability, brand trust, and access to final market channels. Iran shows the power of production scale. Spain shows the power of downstream value capture. The UAE shows the power of logistics and redistribution. The United States shows the pull of final consumer demand. Europe shows the importance of certification, packaging, and market segmentation. This is the hidden trade story behind HS091020. Saffron is small in physical volume, but large in value chain complexity. The market is shaped by climate and labor at the farm level, by grading and drying at the processing level, by sanctions and re-export routes at the trade level, and by branding and certification at the consumer level. That is why a simple country ranking does not explain the market. And it is why a small jar of saffron on a shelf can hide a much bigger global system. For Merit Gateway, the main conclusion is this: saffron is not just a premium spice. It is a test of how well a company can read the full chain from origin to buyer. If you only look at volume, you miss value. If you only look at value, you miss origin. If you only look at origin, you miss branding. And if you only look at branding, you miss the farming system that makes the product possible. The opportunity sits in connecting those layers. The strongest strategy is not simply to buy saffron. It is to match the right grade, the right origin story, the right documentation, and the right market channel. That is where the real saffron trade begins. To continue from here, visit meritgateway.com and check the latest saffron product report. Start with the executive summary if you want the fast overview. Use the full value chain report if you want the deeper sourcing, trade, price, and market entry analysis behind this video. The report link is in the description.